I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture. I like to combine theme park visits and riding roller coasters with cultural experiences around the world. Silverwood Theme Park recently became one of the first parks in the United States to reopen after the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll take a look at some of the changes that have come because of it, and also a look at some of the best rides in the park. Hey everybody, this is Gary from Coasting with Culture, and I'm currently sitting in a hotel room in the town of Spokane Valley, just outside of the city of Spokane, Washington. Today I'll be heading over to Idaho to join a friend, Matt, from Park Journey, and we are going to go ahead and see what opening day at Silverwood Theme Park is like today. As you may know, Silverwood's one of the first theme parks to reopen after the COVID-19 pandemic. Over the past weekend, we had seen the openings of the likes of Lagoon in Utah and Mount Olympus Theme Park in Wisconsin. We've heard news recently about Disney and Universal and SeaWorld when they're going to open up, and other parks have announced their plans. And we're still waiting to hear from places like Six Flags and the Cedar Fair parks. Well, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to scope out what's going on at Silverwood. What are some of the protocols they're taking to try and keep their guests safe, as well as their staff safe, and how that actually looks and what the experience is like when going through these different protocols. So with that being said, let's go ahead over to Athol, Idaho, and see what's going on at Silverwood today. As you park and come to the bag check, the park has several signs with information including the CDC's recommendations and suggestions regarding ways to keep safe while in the park. All park staff will be wearing masks, but they're optional for guests. The park has reduced their capacity for the time being, and when entering the park, guests are being asked to wait so they can be spread evenly between the turnstiles so as to prevent a large group from waiting to enter the park. While inside the park, you'll see additional signage with CDC recommendations, including those that suggest distancing from other groups. To help with distancing, several places have painted footprints to help show where to stand in line with the recommended 6 feet of distance between groups. These are being used for food stands, as well as in the queue lines of rides. Some queues are able to space guests out with sections of queue between them. In the queues with 3 rows, they've set up 2 separate lines, and the groups alternate from both at a merging point before the station. This arrangement was found in the larger coasters like Timber Terror, Aftershock, and Tremors. In queues where spacing isn't possible, they've installed plastic shields to help separate groups in lieu of distancing. Ride capacity has been reduced to give a row of separation between parties, but groups larger than 2 can sit in consecutive rows. To help with distancing in the arcade, select games have been turned off to help prevent people from standing next to each other. Indoor facilities have also had their air filters replaced with hospital-grade filters to provide cleaner air for guests while shopping or dining. Speaking of clean, between each ride cycle, the staff cleaned seats and restraints that were used for the previous cycle before loading the next group of riders. At the exit of each attraction, they've provided hand sanitizer for guests, which can also be found at restaurants and high-touch areas like these lockers near the Thunder Canyon Rapids ride. They've limited the use of cash to the front of the park, where you can get a card to use for spending, or you can simply use your credit or debit card to pay. Restaurants are using more shields like this one at their all-you-can-eat restaurant, and they're spacing out their tables for guests. Now that we've seen what the park has done, here's how we spent our day. To start our visit, Matt and I went right to the famous roller coaster alley for riding on the bigger coasters. We were going to try to hop on Aftershock first, but it wasn't quite ready with the rest of the park, so we'd come back later. The first coaster that we rode was Timber Terror, the park's Custom Coasters International out and back style wooden coaster. While it is a bummer that they've replaced the buzz bar with individual lap bars, this ride still offers some fun airtime as it runs along the side of Roller Coaster Alley.
After our ride on Timber Terror, we found that Aftershock had opened for the day, so we took a spin on this Vekoma giant inverted boomerang. While these rides have a reputation for being very problematic in their operation, it seems that Silverwood has done well to keep it running, as I've been able to get at least one lap on it with each visit I've made to the park. I still get a kick out of this ride for the bizarre feeling of the vertical climb out of the station and the way that it feels like a massive coaster through its inversions. To me, this is the best version of the boomerang layout by Vekoma. From Aftershock, we went to my favorite coaster in the park, Tremors. This Custom Coaster International creation offers more of a twister layout with the highlight of the 4 tunnels, 2 back-to-back after the first drop, and 2 more back-to-back before the brake run. This coaster also has one of the best warning signs you'll find in any park. The last of the coasters we rode on this visit was the park's most historic ride, Corkscrew. This was the first modern inverting coaster when Aerodynamics designed it for Knott's Berry Farm back in 1976 and would come to its new home at Silverwood in 1990. Like other standard Aero Corkscrew coasters, this is a bit of a rougher ride, but it's worth a spin for its historic significance. Since this visit was mostly for seeing what changes the park has put into place in response to the pandemic, there were some rides we skipped out on this time but are worth taking a ride when visiting. This includes the Roaring Creek Log Flume, the large Larson Drop Tower Panic Plunge, and the fully inverting pendulum ride Spin Cycle. We also enjoyed a nice cold treat on this warm day in the form of their Huckleberry Milkshake, which is delicious.
And that was the day at Silverwood. Now at this point I have gotten back home. It's the day after the visit to Silverwood, and I have to say that I really appreciate the efforts that Silverwood has taken to try and make sure that everybody's safe while visiting the park. The use of the plastic shields for the food service areas and also in areas where it's really difficult to get further apart from other people. It was also really neat to see their creative use of the Bigfoot footprints to try and show the distances while people waited in line. I could see where there'd be some confusion with the 2 separate lines that come together, but according to what Matt told me while we were there, they're supposed to have somebody there to help merge folks between the 2 lines, so perhaps that's something that they're going to be working on as the days go on. It was also great to see the enthusiasm from people as the park opened up for the first time, and to also get a chance to ride some favorite coasters, Tremors, Timber Terror, Aftershock, it's always fun to go and visit Silverwood and get a chance to ride those. Now, one of the questions that does come up is the usage of masks. The employees all had masks on, whether they were the food service workers or the ride operators. The mechanics even had masks on. As far as the guests go, I probably would have counted on either one or two hands the number of people I saw wearing masks in the park. And I think part of that might be because northern Idaho and the surrounding area hasn't seen as many cases of the coronavirus as they've seen in other parts of the country. So if you are somebody who is going to be wearing a mask and you would prefer to be around those who are wearing their masks as well, I would say you're probably going to want to wait before making a visit to Silverwood. However, if you're not as concerned about the masks, then you should be good to go. Now, whether you are wearing masks or whether you're not wearing masks, I think most people will agree that we're all hopeful that this is a sign that things are getting better and that they'll continue to improve so that we can start making our way back to normalcy in a way. With that being said, I hope you found this informative and helpful in case you're thinking about going to Silverwood. And whether you plan on going or waiting until things continue to subside a bit, I hope everybody out there stays healthy and safe. And hopefully we'll get to a point where we can all start traveling more again and getting a chance to enjoy the world and also all the different theme parks.
Thank you for watching this Coasting with Culture video. If you'd like to see future videos about combining theme park visits and cultural experiences, please consider clicking that subscribe button down below. You'll also find Coasting with Culture on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, plus more content at coastingwithculture.com. Until next time, take care and safe travels.